Yeah, a few thoughts to just supplement what Ambassador Ayalon just said. First of all, the hostages were stapled on as an afterthought at best, merely a fig leaf to show a completely absurd and lopsided decision by those who sit at the bench of the ICJ without any question whatsoever. It really should reaffirm the motivations of the Jewish communities here and abroad to maintain public awareness about the plight of the hostages, because they've already moved into an area where they're nothing more than an appendix when it comes to assessing current events. Beyond that, a little ray of hope was that there wasn't a call for the immediate cessation of all military operations inside the Gaza Strip writ large. That was confined to the area of Rafah, and that, of course, has to be ignored. The Israel Defense Forces has to push forward. Now, the decision of the ICJ is binding, but it's not enforceable. The State of Israel has said that it will not capitulate to whatever comes out from this court at this time. And we have absolutely no means of bringing back these hostages, short of us going into Rafah, closing down just the other day, for example, 50 tunnels that were found coming in from the Sinai Peninsula into the Gaza Strip, something that the Egyptians have turned a blind eye to. Ambassador Ayalon's absolutely right when he makes mention of the fact that it is the Egyptians who have closed the Rafah crossing. But more than that, the Egyptians and the ICJ are both in violation of international norms. When you have masses of displaced persons in a given area, there are two norms afoot, almost axiomatically. The first is neighbouring countries are expected to absorb them, and the second is non-neighbouring countries are expected to absorb them. Egypt is eminently resourced to do that. Overseas countries can do the very same. It's incredible that we've seen an inversion of these international norms. And here, uniquely, we are told the Palestinian Arabs who are displaced in Gaza as a consequence of a government that they elected that wrought the most horrific attack upon the people of Israel since the Holocaust, that those people, number one, don't wish to go anywhere, don't wish to be moved to any safe haven anywhere whatsoever, and that the neighbouring country, Egypt, which incidentally is culpable for much of what happened on October the 7th, that Egypt does not have to absorb any of these displaced persons there inside the Gaza Strip. Final quick point that I want to make mention of. This appeal by the South Africans brought as evidence completely false information. It suggested at the time that it made its case in front of the ICJ that there were more than 1 million displaced Gazans inside Rafah. By the time they made that argument, 450,000 of that estimated 1 million had already been moved safely to safe haven by the Israel Defense Forces. And furthermore, they stated that there simply was not enough aid coming into the Gaza Strip because Israel was said to be inhibiting the flow of that aid. That was also false. There has been a massive, massive increase of aid going into the Gaza Strip at the hands of the Israel Defense Forces and international organizations. I said that was the final point, but I'll just say one other thing. They want this to be opened to a competent, that was their word on the ICJ, competent body of inquiry within the United Nations. There is no such body. The United Nations has disgraced itself. It is a completely defunct organization when it comes to its competence here in the States of Israel, and I implore the government of the States of Israel to ignore this ruling.
Well, and on top of that, what about the inquiry going in and inquiring Egypt?
Of course.
Similarly, why only do we have to
because it's different. The answer to that is because simply there are different rules for Jews. That is the reality of the situation that's taking place here, and I'm sure that our government will not capitulate to this ruling. There is a danger, though, talking about the people atop our government, that this ruling by the ICJ will encourage and propel forward the seeking of arrest warrants for Prime Minister Netanyahu and, of course, Yoav Gallant, because it gives this veil of legitimacy. Wow. And that is enforceable.